So hey guys, welcome back to the new video tutorial. This is the part 3. In previous video we have covered till this point which we haven't imported this. So what we can do is basically we have to import. Let's import to do list.css. Okay, now it's okay. Okay, if I click on it, so yeah, here I have already copy paste the CSS part for the to-do list. So what you can do, for how can you get this CSS part? Just go to my website. Okay, how can you go to website? Just this is the ziontutorial.com. You have to go and just click on the react.js and you will find this to-do list. Okay, or even you can search it from the search form. So what you can do is basically I have already copy each like to-do list.css, app.css and index.css from here and paste it to our source code. So here you can find the app.css, which is I have already uh, if I go to the app.css part, as you can see, I have already copy and paste it over here. Okay, so because our main motto of this video is basically we have to focus on the React part, not on the CSS. Okay, so let's go to the, I have already copy and paste the app.css part. Let's see another CSS, which is to-do list.css. Okay, which is I have already pasted over here. If you go to the to-do list.css, so these are the CSS part for the to-do list. Now if I go to, if we, like in previous video we have already copy paste the index.css part. Okay, so these are, so there are three CSS part: app.css, index.css and to-do list.css, already copied from the website. Now let's move into the for a while what you can do. If you haven't watched, okay, so these two parts, if you have to go to the Geon tutorial. In the first part I have already told you the demo part of this video, what we are going to build in this video, and the same second part what we have covered the folder structure. Okay, and components also. Okay, basically these are the components which we have, like to-do list, how to uh, just organize folder structure part. Okay, that's simple. And now what we are focusing on, basically our main motto is on UI part. So let's go to the app.js, and if I go to the UI part, so what you can do, if I click on Google Chrome and if I go to here, you can see here to-do list is coming. So now the next step is basically what we have to uh, basically remove these parts, am I right? And we have to cover, let's see, I'm just basically putting fragments, and just let's see to do. Here we have to put the component to do. What is the name of this component? To do list. Okay, so yeah, that's easy, very easy. Okay, I have already pasted. So let's go to the UI part and let's check, is it working fine? Okay, now to-do list is coming. Okay, previously what we are rendering here, which is coming from the app.js, now it is coming from the to-do list component. So let's go to the to-do list, and here what we can do again, we have to rewrite these codes, okay, from starting, because we are working right now. The main point is we have to work on the UI part. So what I'm doing here, basically again I have to remove it and then put it in a fragment. And the next step is, let's suppose I have to define a div, okay, which is class name is container. Okay, container. Let's see if I put container. So what will happen on the output? Because I have already import the CSS part, and here for the container, as you can see, I have already write the container CSS, and in app.css, if you go to, so container CSS is also already written here. Okay, so let's, if I go to the okay, as you can see, the container is coming. Okay, now the next step is what we have to, if you go to the, if you go here, so we have to work on, like here, if I know this is very fast, but according to UI we have to uh, build in a such a way, so the heading part and refresh part add to do. And here if I click on remove, so these two these three things have to come. Okay, after clicking on it, so let's work on it. Okay, what we can do is basically the next step for the heading part. So for this I have to define a class name. Let's see, which is a reset. reset underscore container. Okay, because I have put this name because in this we have h2 tag which consists our heading and svg icon where we put the remove all the listing from the to-dos list. Okay, so first of all what we can do, we have to define our h2. So I'm just copy and paste it over here. Okay, now let's see what is coming at the UI. So h2 is coming now, and if I go to, so next step is here we have to put svg icon. If I click on the svg icon, that will remove each and every list. Okay, so now for this svg icon I have to put the svg. Okay, so what you can do, just basically if you go to the source code, here we have to define a div again, div uh, div, and the class name is what I can do is icon. Okay, because we are putting icons in it, so I'm just putting the name as a class name as icon. So now what I can do is basically I'm just copy pasting the svg file and just paste it over here. Now here as you can see, error is coming which says remove all is not defined. So just remove it because basically we are building the basic UI for the to-do list. So now we have already imported. So if you are like thinking how can we get the svg again, I'm telling you, you have to go to the this website. Okay, and here if we are working on to do list.js, so here I have already mentioned this svg icon. Okay, just you have to copy this line, div icon, and from here and just paste it over here. Okay, that's it. Now if I go to again UI, I hope so, as you can see this is coming at the top. Okay, here is the list and here is the svg. Now we have to make a button over here. Okay, so if we click on the add, there is a pop-up is coming as you can see in the demo part. Okay, here if I click on the add button, so this pop-up is coming which is add to do. Okay, now what you can do is basically let's see where is the model, where is the button part. Okay, so now what we can do is basically we have to define a button. So as you can see, here is the button. Okay, which is vertically center I have put. So if I click over here vertical, whose name is vertical hyphen center, let's see if I close this container because we have already done that part. Okay, now here what we can do is uh, basically let's define this vertical button. Okay, now handle show is now because we have a work on the only UI part, so let's remove it. Okay, and save it. Let's see, go to the UI again, check. Yeah, add button is coming. For now the next functionality we have to build, if we click on add, our model is coming. Okay, for the model I'm using the bootstrap model basically. Okay, so for bootstrap what you can do is basically I'm using react bootstrap. Okay, so here we go to the react bootstrap and model, just put the model. So here as you can see here model is coming. Okay, so this kind of model is we have. Okay, so if I click on a particular button, so this kind of model is coming, but our model is different. Okay, so for this you can search on the react bootstrap. For now what I can do is basically I'm just writing the states. Okay, I'm just defining the use state values. So just go to the, okay, we have already covered the button part. Now we have to define the constant use state values, and that's it. Okay, so at the top what we can do, let's define show use state, and here let's say you set show. Okay, set show, and we have to use state, and here we are passing the false value. Okay, false. Now the next step is we have to again define two functions, handle close and handle show, which are already present on the bootstrap. You can find it on bootstrap, or you can also go to the, here I have already defined, so I'm just copy paste these values. Okay, so this is the show and this is the these two function for the. Okay, now the next step is basically for the model. So what we can do for the model, let's so these are the models. Okay, so these are the models values we have to copy. Okay, so for the model what we can do is basically we have to define it here. Okay, now what I'm doing is basically we have to copy, just go to the website and here, and I have already defined the model here. So just copy and paste it over. Wait a second. Here I'm just copy each and every line from model actually. Okay, so from here, after the button, we have to paste it in the source code. So I have defined the button vertical center. Under vertical center, we have to paste it. Okay, so the next step, look in this model what I have defined already. So here, like, I have defined a form control values here, whose like type is text area, and we have two buttons here, close and save. Now we are getting some error, so let's solve these error because these are the import errors basically. So let's go to the bootstrap site and just copy paste imports from here and just paste it at the top. Okay, some of the values we have to put, like button, call, container, model, row, form. Okay, so we have to copy and paste it over here at the top. Okay, let's see. Here we have to import each and every. So if I go, so here prop is not defined, activity is not defined, set is not defined. Okay, so we have to solve this at 12 react bootstrap slash form. So we have to define these two things also. Okay, so let's I'm not using this. Okay, now next step is cannot react model because model we are using, prop is not defined. So for the prop, what we can do, for the prop we have to pass the prop actually at the to-do list. Okay, so let's see, I'm passing the prop here for removing the prop. Okay, form is not defined, let's define the form again, and activity is not defined. Okay, so activity is not defined because if you go to the model part, so here what we are doing now, let's handle close is already defined, but this activity is not defined, set activity is not defined. So let's define these two values because we have to put the input values to the list and the activities. Okay, let's go to the website, and here I have already defined these two constant value. Like first one is activity const activity and the list activity. Okay, so let's copy these two use state values and let's paste it over here. Okay, now what we are getting, add activity is not defined. So add activity is what? Add activity, if we go to the add activity, so here is the add activity, which so for this what we can do is basically for the add activity we have to write a function. For now we are not writing any function because we are focusing on the UI part. So I'm just removing this function. Okay, now let's see, error, there are so many errors, we can remove it because React Bootstrap, these things we haven't covered. What we can do is basically just go to the React website. Okay, React model, we have to copy npm package for it. Let's go to the Bootstrap. Here we have to copy. And now for this what we can do, just go to the public file, and here in the index.css file, a html file, we have to copy the CDN for the bootstrap. Okay, so just copy the CDN files for bootstrap. Okay, just copy and just pasting over here. Let's see. Okay, now I'm just already copy, but these error is not gone. So what we can do is basically I'm just click on here. Parallelly I've just opened another terminal, and here you have to go to this, copy the npm install react hyphen bootstrap. Okay, now what you can do is basically just copy paste and enter. Okay, so if because react hyphen bootstrap slash model, react hyphen bootstrap slash row, these are not defined, we haven't like import or install the react bootstrap. Now what we can do is basically, now as you can see, react bootstrap is not defined over here. So what we can do, at the top, if you go to the to-do list, and is there any thing we have to define? So let's go to the website. Okay, because we have already defined each and everything. Okay, so here what we can do, yeah, we have to install, we have already installed it. So now, as you can see, what I have done, basically every error is removed. What I have done, basically, I have just killed the terminals. Okay, like this, I have just killed the terminal. Okay, and again I have just restart the terminal. Okay, like npm start. I'm just starting from start the npm start again after killing the terminal, so it will work fine. Okay, so sometime it will not work. So what you can do is basically just kill your terminal, and everything is working fine. Now, as you can see, we have installed, if you go to the package.json file. Okay, so here we have already like we are using bootstrap. Okay, so yeah, it's working fine, every import is working fine, there is no error is coming. Let's jump to the UI. If I go to the Chrome, and as you can see, add is coming, to-do list is coming. Okay, but if I click on add, the model is not coming. So let's go to the model part. Okay, so if I scroll down, and just let's scroll little bit down here, as you can see here in model, we have a container overhead header. Okay, so here header, in header we have defined a to-do list and this icon. Okay, so this is our title. Okay, in header part we have only write the headings. Okay, which is to do, add to do, or your thought, I think, add to do's. Okay, so this is the heading part. In the body, what we have defined here, in the body there is a container. In the container we have a form to we have form, like we have a groups. Okay, form group. In the form group we have a label which is your thought, and one text area input, which is that this is a text area which is already bigger. Okay, rather than as compared to the normal input field. So here we have defined the values as an activity. As you know that here in the values we have defined the activity which is already mentioned at the top. Okay, here is the use state value for the activity. Okay, now as you can see, here we have defined the on change. In the on change we have defined a function here. Okay, which is anonymous function we have defined here. So we are setting the activity, whatever the user is typing. Okay, whatever the user is typing, we are just getting the values, okay, in the activity list, and just setting the value okay, after typing the each and every values. Okay, so we targeted the values. Okay, so now the next step, if we click on the add, why it is not coming? Because if we go to the UI part, if we click on the add, this model is coming come. Okay, so why it is not coming? So basically we have to let's see, go to the where is the button. So here is the button. If we there is no function is available here. Okay, as you can see. So as you can see here, we have to show this model. So how can we do that? Basically, let's see where is the function we have defined. So here, as you can see, in the button we have a function called handle show. Okay, handle show. So let's copy this function on. We have to define an on click function here in the button. Let's see, on click we have to define and handle show. Okay, we have already defined this function at the top. If you click on just press the control and click on it. So as you can see, we have defined two functions, handle close function and handle show function. Okay, so these two functions are there. So now if you click on let's go to the UI and let's check it is working fine or not. So if I click on add, uh, so it is not showing. Okay, why it is not showing? If I refresh it again, okay, now it is coming. Okay, so you have to refresh, like I have refreshed the values. I have refreshed the page, and if I click on the add, now our model is coming. Okay, so here is the heading part and here is our text area. So whatever the text we have defined it here, we have to save it in a particular list. Okay, so how can we do that? Okay, whatever the value we have, if I go to the inspect tool, and if we inspect, let's save any value. Suppose if I click on save, okay, as you can see, and there is nothing is coming because we haven't console it. So what we can do is basically right now we have to save this value in a particular use state value. So now let's go to here, in the model, what we have defined in the activity list, whatever the values we have here. Okay, let's bind this value and put it in a list. Okay, so how can we do that? Just let's define it first. We have to, so that we will not confuse with these. Okay, now save it. Okay, so what we can do is basically we have to define a list. So how can we define a list? Basically we have to define a container here. Okay, under the reset. Okay, let's define a div whose class name is, sorry, class class name is list, and underscore a hyphen container. Okay, and let's close it. And in this list, what we have to do is define, let's, at the top we have define use state value, which is list data, because whatever the user is defining, we have to save it here, and we are setting the values of activities over here. Okay, now let's save those changes, and let's add a function also, so that we can add into a list. Okay, how can we add into a list? Just define a function. How can we define it? At the top of the return, we have to define a function. Let's const, okay, add activity. Okay, add activity, and let's call it. Okay, we have already defined. Let's see where we have defined this add activity. So we have to define in a particular button, so that after saving the data, this particular data is go to the, so here as you can see, there is a close and save button. So after, if I go to the UI, as you can see, here is a button. If I click on this save change, so this function will hit. Okay, so for this, what we can do is basically here we have to define another function. So on click. Okay, so let's add activity function here, and if I click on it, so it will jump to this add activity function. So what we can do is basically let's set the values. Okay, set the list. Okay, set the list data, and in the list data we have to define an anonymous function. Okay, now we have to again define a updated list, and in updated list we have to define uh, data, like let's spread the values of a list data. Okay, list data, and we have also activity, because whatever value is putting by the user, which is saved into activity files and which is spread by the list data. Now let's console it also. Okay, whatever the which value is putting by the user. Okay, let's see here, updated list. Okay, and now let's set the activity here blank, because after closing we have to remove the data. Okay, and let's return this function. Return what we have to return, updated list. Okay, now after save, we have to close the model. Okay, so I'm just handle close, we have to call the handle close function. Now we all are set. Let's check the output. Okay, again I have to refresh. Let's inspect it. Okay, and here go to the console. Let's add some of the values, like I'm adding save. As you can see here, as you can see, whatever the value we have to put here, it is saved into the list. Okay, so as you can see, we go to here, so it is saved into the console value is like we are console the value of particular data whatever the putting in a model. So now we have cleared for this. Okay, now what we can do is let's add the data whatever we are getting from the list. We have to show it here. So how can we show the data? Let's go to the source code and we have to write a list, okay, which is here we have already defined a div for it, okay, which we are rendering the each and every list. So how can we render the list basically? So let's put this and let's define the list data here. Okay, list data is not equal to blank array, okay, over here. And if it is true, then what we can do, we have list data dot map. Okay, map, we are mapping the data which is what we are getting data I. Okay, so in this let's call it as an anonymous function. Okay, so in the data what we can do is basically we are just written after mapping the data, we are passing the data and I, which is index value. So what we are going to do is basically we have to show the data. For the data part I'm using checkbox, which is I'm picking from the bootstrap, okay, React bootstrap, and I'm using the drop down menus also. So let's go to the website. Okay, I just pick the so where is the checkbox which we are using? Okay, here. Okay, so here as you can see here we have already defined the condition if the list data is not equal to empty array. So if it is true, then we have to map the data. Okay, if it is blank basically, so we have to run this. So I have already defined it here. So what we can do is basically let's see, let's put the form value over here and let's copy the return value. And what we can do is till this point. Okay, so just copy it from here and paste it. Let's go to the source code. Here's the source code here. Here I'm just pasting out. Okay, now let's check. I think something is a remove activity is not defined. Okay, now what we have done here, basically here we have defined the curly braces for it. And also we have defined these two forms values, which is checkboxes basically, and we are like binding the data. So what we can do is basically just copy the whole list again, and we have to paste it over here so that I can okay, now what we can do, as you can see here, we have to remove it. Wait a second. Okay, now, okay, so we have a div of list container. In the list container we have these values, which is list data. So for the list data, what we are retrieving from the list data dot map, we are just binding the data value from here to this checkbox. Okay, and also there is a drop down menus here. If you click on a drop down, we have to remove a particular list items on the basis of ID. So that's why we are passing the index value of each and every like item, whatever the data we have present. Okay, so if we go to let's define the remove activity also, because if we click on the drop down menu, so this drop down item is called, okay, which removes the particular item from the list. So what we can do is basically we have to define this remove activity. So how can we define this? We have to define at the top of the function. Okay, so in the same way, like we have defined the activity file. So let's remove the activity we have to define now. So what we can do is basically let's const and remove activity, which we are copying from the, okay, so here I'm just putting now. Okay, so here what we can do, just let's const updated list, because we have to remove if the data is removed from the list data, so we are getting a new data. So let's put it list data, we are dot filter, because after deleting a particular data we have to filter the elements. Okay, so I'm just defining element m, and here id, because particular id we are filter out. Okay, so here what we can do, just I'm just return, I'm just return the not value, not is equal to id. Okay, that's it, which will remove a particular item from the list. So let's set the list data also, because we have to update the list or updated data here. So pass the list data. Okay, I think we are getting some error, because here in the filter, okay, we have element id, and okay, so this is the extra thing which we are passing over here. Okay, now we have written the values. Okay, and we have to put this also. Okay, now everything is gone, the error is gone. Next step, let's check if it is working fine or not. Okay, let's go to the UI part. Okay, again we have to, okay, let's go to the UI part, let's add something. Okay, I'm just adding reading. If I click on save change, okay, as you can see reading is coming. If I click on here, as you can see remove is also coming. If I click on remove, the item is removed. Let's add 3 or 4 items, or 2 or 3 items. Okay, so first one is suppose eating. Okay, if I click on save changes, so eating is added. Let's see reading, let's add it. Okay, so here we have added reading, eating, and we have to remove a particular data. Okay, so it is working fine, adding is also fine, deleting, removing the data from the list is also working fine. Now let's work on this, which removed each and every list from the list. So I'm just putting list here, reading, and 2 readings items, and writing. Okay, there are 3 items here, 2 readings and 1 writing. So the next functionality we have to build is, if I click on a particular this SVG icon, so this will remove the each and every list from the list data. So now let's go to source code. Okay, so here is the source code. We have defined the remove activity, add activity. Let's remove all function we have to define. Okay, const, okay, remove all. Okay, and yeah, now I have defined a remove function. Okay, let's where we have to put on click function in the SVG, so that, because you can see when we click on a particular SVG like this icon, this will remove whole list data. Okay, now we have to go to where is the SVG icon? Yeah, in the REST container we have an SVG. Yeah, here, and we have to, let's define on click. Okay, on click, and in the on click we have to call this remove all function. So remove all is very simple as compared to the other. Okay, what you can do is basically you have to call this function, call like you have to set the list data uh, as a default, like you have to default the value of each list data. Sorry, this one. Okay, now let's check. So here if I refresh this page, now if I add, suppose adding, okay, deleting. Okay, so these are the to-dos I have created here. So suppose if I click on remove, so look at this, each and every list is removed from the list. Okay, so I hope you like this video and you learn a lot. If you haven't like you have any doubt for building this like a to-do list, you can just refer the source code, whatever the source code I have provided at the description box. Okay, it is very simple, just look at the logical parts. Okay, just make these at your own, and also just go to the Geon tutorial and like these two videos also, and watch these two videos also, so that your basic understanding will clear about the folder structure and all. Okay, I hope you like the videos.